Hello, hello. Welcome to Whole Lotta Heart, where we talk about grief, healing, growing through the hard stuff, and learning to love ourselves through it all. I'm Kayla, your host, your hype girl, and your safe space. Whether you're deep in your feelings or just trying to keep it together, pull up a seat, child, because this space was made for hearts like yours. Today's episode is about something that I think lightens the journey of grief a little bit. It's a glimmer of hope in the middle of the messiness of grief, and it's one of those topics that I think it's softer, special, a little bit magical, and it's about those little moments that make you think or ask out loud, "Wait, was that you?" Maybe it's a bird that you see, or you have a dream, a song that just hits at the right time. Whatever it is, you feel it undeniably, and it feels very personal and very unique to you. So, today we're diving into the signs, the dreams, and the symbols that remind us our loved one is still with us. And I want this to be a more lighthearted episode, so let's get right into it. So I want to let you know right up front that I have some story times for you of two of my own personal encounters. But before we dive in, let's talk about what we even mean by signs and what a sign actually is. So these are just my interpretations of what these things are, but a sign is anything that feels like a little nudge or a little reminder or a moment that makes you pause and really consider, was that them? And it's the kind of thing that doesn't make sense to anyone else, but you know exactly what the sign means. It could be a song that you hear on the radio, a random coin or penny that you find on the ground, a feather that pops up out of nowhere. It could even be a feeling that you have in your chest or a dream that you have that feels way too real. And it's not about proving anything to anybody or corroborating your story, but it's about what your heart knows. And signs after loss are those little moments or those sensations that feel too pointed or too unique and specific to really be random. And they're unique. For one person, it could be feathers. For another person, it could be numbers, even if they're both grieving the same person. And I think that that is beautiful because the signs you get can be specific to your relationship with your person. And the signs can come at different times, even for people who are grieving the same person. For instance, my sister and I both had dreams about my mom. I had my first dream about her maybe a month or two after her passing, and my sister didn't have her first dream until like a year or two into her journey. And it doesn't make either one of those experiences less meaningful. I believe that they happen and these signs appear when the person receiving them needs to have them. I mean, signs really don't have a rule book. It's certainly not a logical thing. It's more of like a emotional and spiritual resonance between you and your person. And signs often show up during grief waves, both in the peak of the wave and in the low parts of the wave. They can show up during milestones. Maybe you're getting married. Maybe you're having a baby. Maybe you're buying a house. Sometimes you'll see your loved one appear during those types of moments. Or maybe you have to make a big decision. Should I buy this house? Should I take this job? And, sometimes your loved one will come around for reassurance to you. And they carry emotion, even if they're small. They carry a meaning and a feeling that you cannot ignore. So let's talk about the kind of signs that people notice after someone passes. I've mentioned some of these already, but this list are the most common ones that I've heard, some that I've experienced, but obviously this is not an exhaustive list by any means. So the first one being butterflies, dragonflies, and animals. Things in nature make sense to me. I feel like experiencing, the spirit of your loved one after they've passed is very much a nature thing, very much a spiritual thing. So that makes sense to me. Feathers in random places. Now, I haven't actually experienced this at all, but in just doing my research and looking things up, this was a common sign that people had encounters with. So I thought that was kind of cool. Pennies, dimes, or just coins in general popping up out of nowhere, especially places where you never had them before, or if you didn't even know that you had pennies and dimes and coins and now they're popping up. Then you have repeating numbers like 1111 or 333 or even your person's birthday. Those are important symbols or important signs that you can connect to your person to just know that they're there with you. Songs that come on at the exact right moment, especially songs that you haven't heard for a while or that were your person's favorite song. Then we have lights flickering or technology acting strange. So, flickering lights while you're sitting on the couch, maybe that's a sign of your person. Maybe your computer screen goes out when you're thinking about them. That can be a sign of your person too. Smells, like their perfume or cologne. Maybe they had cigars that they used to smoke, or maybe they had a specific coffee they used to drink. Having those smells brings back memories and can make you feel like they're there with you. And then vivid dreams, where your person shows up calm, peaceful, and real, where you feel like you can literally reach your arm out and touch them. That's another common sign or symbol that your person is with you. And sometimes I think that we picture these signs as needing to be dramatic or very obvious, things that we can see right away and identify right away, like the lights flickering. Or some people even think, I don't hear any voices from the clouds or anything. But most of the time, signs are quiet. They are subtle, they are soft, they're personal. They're like a spiritual inside joke between you and your person. And it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else except for you. Okay. So we're going to talk about butterflies today because I had encounters with butterflies. And I knew that butterflies are actually quite a common symbol for change and transformation. That's apparent to me. We all know the process of how butterflies become butterflies. They begin life as a caterpillar, and then they cocoon themselves into what is called a chrysalis. And that's where their transformation happens. And in fact, this podcast was almost called the Chrysalis Podcast because of the transformation. Unfortunately, that name was taken. Then they emerge from this chrysalis as a beautiful butterfly with bright colors and patterns. So we understand the connection to the butterfly with the idea of change and transformation. But I did not know about them as a sign relating to your loved one who's passed on, at least not until after I've had my own encounters. So let me tell you my story of the orange monarch butterfly that I came across. So one day in July of 2023, this was about 2 years after everything had gone down with my mom. And I was in the bathroom getting myself ready to head to Shakespeare in the Park with one of my best friends, Marina. We've been doing this together since probably middle of college. And while I was doing my hair, getting all beautified, an orange monarch butterfly flies right past my face into the hallway that I have outside the bathroom and toward the kitchen. I don't know where this butterfly came from. I have no windows in my bathroom, so I don't know where it came from. So now, those who know me, they know I don't mess with insects, okay? Or anything flying that I can't catch. Like insects like moths and butterflies, for some reason, they trigger this anxious reaction. Like I start to sweat, my stomach starts to turn. So you can probably imagine that I am freaking out because this butterfly just flew so close to my face and now it's in the house. So I tried to follow it out into the kitchen and it was nowhere to be found. I couldn't find it. I couldn't see it. It was nowhere. So I went to the living room to open the front door, so that if it came through, I can free it. Like I didn't want to harm it. I just wanted it out of my house. But it didn't show up right away. So I'm calming myself down from the freak out, and I'm calm again, and I'm standing in between, like we have an archway in between our living room and dining room. So I'm standing there. And it just appears in my face. Like it flies right into my face. And I start running. I start running and it chases me deeper into the living room. And I finally run to the front door in hopes that it will follow me out. Nope, it did not. So now my anxiety is on 1,000. And I'm sure my neighbors thought something was wrong or that I was going crazy because I was standing on the front porch screaming and hollering about a butterfly. But I called my sister and explained to her all the shenanigans that just took place in the house. And I asked her to come and capture this butterfly and free it for me. And I remember she was like, Kayla, you want me to drive over there? Seriously? For a butterfly? I'm like, absolutely yes. Come on over and get this butterfly out the house. So she comes and she's looking at me like I'm crazy because all of this for a butterfly. But she goes in and she's searching for it. She's looking in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, behind curtains, behind the furniture, and she finds absolutely nothing. Nada. I was stunned because I'm like, it has to be here. Like, I just saw it twice pass by my face. So I tell her, go sit in the living room. It will come out once we relax and kind of calm things down. She was there for at least 45 minutes before I left for Shakespeare in the Park. And she stayed at my house for probably a good 2 hours after I left. Nothing. She found nothing. But I know what I saw. So I get home that night and I call my sister and she tells me how she found nothing. Therefore, I'm thinking, that means this butterfly has not been removed from my house. So I was low-key panicking because I gotta go to sleep. But that butterfly, to this day, has never shown back up in my house. I haven't seen it in the house since it swirled around me in my living room. And I remember when I called my sister the next day after this whole debacle, she's the one that was like, maybe that butterfly was only meant for you to see. And I'm like, And then she says, maybe that was mommy. And remember how I said signs can show up at different times for different people? Well, I realized what time of the year we were in when this happened. We were in the anniversary of those weeks where we were in the hospital with her. And I think she was appearing to me to let me know that she was free and she was okay and that she's always here with me and not to feel bad about what happened to her in the hospital. And I think that was a beautiful time for her to come, but I also think that she was playing a bit of a joke on me appearing as a butterfly because she knows how much I hate insects. But I remember when she and I would see a butterfly together, we would always admire them, and I would always be a little less afraid when she was there. And she would say, "They're so beautiful, Kayla. They will never hurt you." And I feel like that was such an accurate representation of my mom in that statement. And it should have been a little bit of foreshadowing for me. I should have thought about this when I saw the butterfly. My mom was beautiful inside and out. She had a beautiful spirit. She was a gorgeous lady. And she would never do anything to hurt me. And she didn't. She just wanted to let me know she was here. But I never saw that butterfly again, or any butterfly for that matter, until the following year for my 30th birthday. I would say 30 is a big birthday, so it makes sense that she showed up on this day. So I was coming home during the middle of the day on my birthday, and now I hardly ever pull up into my driveway. I almost always back up. But today, for some reason, I decided to pull in. So when I get out the car, there's a flower on my neighbor's front lawn, and there's an orange monarch butterfly there. Now, I never would have seen this if I backed up. So when I saw it, I immediately mentally went back to the conversation with my sister about maybe that was mommy and this was my birthday. So I talked to it. I said, "Hey, Ma, it's my birthday." And the butterfly flew slowly toward me. And for a quick second, it felt like the butterfly and I were just staring at each other. and then it flew away. And I know how I felt after that encounter with the butterfly. I know how I felt after the whole debacle with the butterfly in the house. And when my sister told me, that could have been mommy, I remember that night I felt fine. I slept fine, not anxious or anything. I was praying that the butterfly did not show up in my room, but I slept peacefully. Any other time, if there was a moth or anything, I might have packed up and stayed at a friend's house or something. Well, I'm kidding, sort of, kind of. But I hate insects so much that I would have considered leaving the house for the night. And to know that the butterfly was in the house and to sleep peacefully, it just felt fine. And I feel like I knew that the butterfly was just a physical sign of my mom's spirit surrounding me. And that made me feel safe. It made me feel secure and comforted. And I feel so silly when I tell these stories sometimes because no one was there. And I don't know if anyone believes me when I tell them these things, but no one was there to corroborate the story. And they do seem a little far-fetched and coincidental, I know, but I know that I experienced these things. And maybe you felt something similar after an encounter. Maybe you saw a butterfly or a bird, or you smelled a scent in the air, and it was just comforting, and it was reminiscent of your loved one, and it's supposed to make you feel safe. And when we're in grief, it's comforting to know that there are these small moments for love to sneak in through these unique ways. And I think that they are just a lighthearted side of the grieving journey. And it just gives you a little bit of relief sometimes. So let's talk about dreams. Dreams are one of the most powerful ways that people feel their loved ones around them. You might have had one of these dreams already. Those dreams where it feels like they're really here, like you can reach out and touch them. I've had those dreams. One was very peaceful and very serene and very short. And one was a full-blown dream. And every time I wake up from these dreams, I just know, and I just have this feeling that these dreams weren't my brain just doing its thing. It was a message. This was a connection. This was really love showing up in my dream, in my sleep. And these dreams tend to carry some clarity and some peace. They can be or feel emotionally real. They shouldn't be chaotic, but they can be heavy on the emotional side. And you might leave changed when you wake up. You might feel different when you wake up. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they offer advice, sometimes they're just reminders that your person is still here. So I want to give you a quick story time, another story of an experience I had in a dream. So this is about a cookout at my grandmama's house. So my mom showed up at my house. Now I'm in the dream now, okay? Mom showed up to the house in the morning and she rang the Ring doorbell, okay? And I look out the camera and I see that it's her, and I get excited because my mind knows that she's passed and she shouldn't be here, but she's here. So I let her in and she comes to the kitchen and she begins making her coffee like she normally would. And she's talking to me about prepping for the food for the cookout at my grandma's house. And, we're just chit-chatting. Time goes by in the middle of the dream, and it's a little unclear to me what we were doing in the middle of the time. I can't remember. But we end up at the cookout. This is where it gets clear again for me. We're at my grandma's house. Now, my grandma had a huge yard, so we have tables set up. All my family was there, and it was actually a beautiful dream because loved ones that we had lost a while ago were at the cookout. So like my grandma, we lost her in 2018. My aunt, we lost her in 2016. I have uncles that we lost in the early 2000s. So it was just nice to have them all there in this dream. And we had a special guest, and Lord only knows why he was there. And it was Jay-Z. Jay-Z was there. And I just really don't know where he came from. But we were having a great time. We were having a cookout. We were having music playing. It was just a really good time. Then these random black trucks pull up into the yard. And you're not going to believe this, but they say that they're coming to get rid of all of the Beyonce lovers. Now, as my new internet bestie, you must know that I'm a huge Beyonce girl. I love all of her music, so of course in my dream, I'm sweating bullets. I'm nervous. But sidebar, the weird part about this part of the dream is that they weren't coming after Jay-Z, Beyonce's husband. That was a little bit weird to me, but whatever. And when we weren't openly going with them into their trucks, since they were trying to get rid of the Beyonce fans, they gave us these bags of chips to eat at the cookout. Now, my sister and I immediately knew, let's not eat these chips. These are probably not good. But my uncle eats a whole bag of them, and my mom eats a few chips. Uncle passes out. He's still alive, but he's out cold. Mom is a bit woozy and wobbly for a minute, but it wears off pretty quickly and she's back to herself. Now, once she gets back to herself, she's ticked off because they're trying to get her baby. So she says, let's go get these guys. I'll help you take care of them. So we go on this mission to get rid of these guys who are on a mission to get rid of the Beyonce lovers. So crazy dream, right? But fast forward to the next morning in the dream, and my mom is in the kitchen, and she's smoking a cigarette. My mom, she did smoke cigarettes in real life, unfortunately. And I said, Ma, the Lord has given you a second chance here on earth, and you're going to ruin your body by smoking cigarettes? And this was her reply to me. I'm going to say it exactly to you how she said it to me in the dream. She said, Kayla, I'm not staying here. I just came to help you and guide you through dealing with these Beyonce haters. But I'm leaving and I'm heading back. I'm going back to be with Jesus. And he ain't going to let me smoke up there, so I got to do it before I go. And I was cracking up and I was holding back tears at the same time. And as funny as her response was, it made me realize, or it reinforced for me that she is gone. But it made me realize that her spirit is still here with me and she's still here to help me. And I see it. I see her in me so often. Like when I have to solve a problem, I can hear solutions that she would say in my head in her voice. Or if I ever do anything or say anything, sometimes my friends will say, that's something that your mom would say, or that's something that your mom would do. So if I ever doubted before, this crazy cookout dream of mine with Jay-Z was confirmation that I always have her in my heart and in my mind. So how do you know it's a sign? This is the most common question I get when talking to others about this, and it's the question I ask myself when I realize that I may have had a sign. How do I know it's a sign and not just a coincidence? And my answer is always the same now that I've had this realization. It's very short, very sweet, and to the point. If it brings you comfort, if it brings you peace, if it feels like love, then it's a sign. And you don't need to be able to explain it to anyone else. You don't need validation for it to be real. If it makes your heart feel held for a moment, to feel full, that's enough. It's a sign, and it was meant for you. So, okay. So the sign shows up. Now what? What do you actually do when you get a sign or you have a dream? Here's what helps me, since I have experienced dreams and butterflies, so a nature component. First thing I say is just pause. Just take it in. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself have all the emotions that come with that. Realize what's happening. Don't rush that moment because sometimes they can be very quick. So just pause and be present with it. Talk to it. Say hi out loud or in your head, even if it seems silly. But whatever feels good for you, acknowledge it. Appreciate it. Journal it. Write it down. Write what happened. Write how you felt. Write what you were thinking. Now, I didn't journal it, but I did put it in my notes app just so I can remember how I felt. I can remember the details of the stories. That's how I'm able to recall them to you. And it also timestamps it too, so I can see when it happened. And then share it if you're comfortable. Share it with a friend. Share it with me. Send me a message. Share it with someone who will get it. Someone who understands what these signs and these appearances mean and how they can feel and how excited they can make you. Share it. Now, there are some other options for those who actually receive signs in the form of a physical object, because I've only experienced dreams and butterflies. So nature flies away and dreams are more mental and emotional. So I don't have a physical object to do anything with. But for those of you who do, maybe you get like a feather or a note or a coin, whatever you get. Here are some things that you can do. Save the object. If it's a coin, a note, even the receipt with the timestamp on it that's means something to you, put it somewhere safe that you can remember you placed it, and maybe even date it so you can make sure that you note it when this sign appeared, and start to see trends. Like, are you having signs during similar times of the year? Are the signs the same? Are you getting the same receipt with the same timestamp? Are you getting the same coin? Just to sort of see the trends. Make art or something creative with it. I think that creativity can be very spiritual, and what better thing or what better way to honor your person than to make something beautiful with the sign that they have presented to you. That way they're always with you. They are always with you, but you can see it more times than not. And then show and tell someone. Again, sharing adds meaning to it. Even if they don't get it, sharing just allows you to express your excitement, express your feelings, and, have the realization and be present with that experience. So show and tell somebody. And most importantly, don't talk yourself out of it. If it felt like a sign, trust that. Your mind might question it, and it might be skeptical because it's not a logical thing. It's not a logical experience to have. Also, people are skeptical of these types of things. They'll brush it off as a coincidence. But this is a spiritual thing, and grief is intuitive. The heart knows and it feels and it acknowledges these experiences. So allow yourself to believe that they're happening and that these are real. Signs, I would say, are like love letters. They're little reminders that your connection hasn't gone anywhere. Your connection still remains true. So treat them like the sacred things that they are. They're very sacred and they're very personal. And beyond the dreams and the signs and the butterflies and all that, I think that there's something even deeper to note, and that's that your person lives in the way you show up now. Are you gentler? Are you pausing more to reflect? Are you more open-minded? Are you friendlier? Are you softer? Maybe the lessons that they did instill in you, are alive in your actions. Maybe their love has shaped your voice. It shaped your opinions. It shaped your daily rhythm. It shaped the decisions you make. And I think that that's a sign too. And it's a sign not only for you, because obviously you can see it and you can feel it, but also for other people. They get to experience your loved one through how you are now, through your actions, through how you think now. They can feel it too. And that's a sign too, that you carry them forward. And even though it's a more quieter sign, it's probably not as obvious as some of the other ones, but it's probably the most powerful. So I want you to think back now. I've shared with you two of my crazy encounters, two of my crazy experiences. So I have a question for you. Can you see times where your person was swirling around you? Can you see times where they were approaching you and they were there with you? Was that them? Maybe it was. Maybe signs are how love echoes gently, quietly, and sometimes unexpectedly. And again, you are not needing to prove anything to anyone, but what you do need is presence, to feel your loved one's presence. And if you felt it, that's enough. Grief is heavy. It absolutely is heavy. It is not a linear thing. There's, dips and turns and twists, but signs are supposed to be light. They're a flicker of connection, a soft reminder that we're not as alone as we feel sometimes. And if you ever experienced a sign, I hope this reminded you that it's okay to believe in it. It's okay to let it mean something to you. And if you haven't yet, if you haven't experienced a sign yet, I hope this helps you to stay open to whatever way your person may be trying to say, hey, I'm still here. So I just want to thank you for spending this time with me and listening to my stories. This was a different episode for me, a little more lighthearted. But I love to hear your stories. Come say hi on Instagram at Whole Lotta Heart Podcast. Tell me all about your signs, your dreams, your little moments. I love to hear all your unique stories. I'm just a DM away. But until next time, notice the butterflies, listen to the dreams, and keep your heart open. Your person might be popping by to say hi. Talk to you next week.